BYU fans will not leave me alone. They keep texting me, DMing me, emailing me the same question, and the answer is yes. I will join the team to be the punter. That's all they need, is Locked On Big 12.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
At least college football teams aren't judged by their punters. Happy early Sunday morning, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Big 12. I'm Drake Toll from America's #1 Big 12 podcast, Locked On Big 12. Thank you for making this show your first listen every single day. I'm up. So I thought as you're leaving the stadium, as you're coming down off the high of that win, not a literal high, honor code violation, but the proverbial. And if you're a Utah fan who watched BYU and you're still awake, this is for you as well. If you hit subscribe, I get to keep my job. This is the part of the show where I wax poetic about two teams that I begged to do something this week that they did. I told you. And at the time of recording this, by the way, it's 1:30 in the morning Eastern time where I live. So the BYU game's not even over yet. But I'm just like, you know what? It's after the Tanner Wall interception. Yeah, it's done. It's over. 44-13. That is the final score here. Is a bloodbath. And I said that BYU and Utah both need to create a new number. Need to invent a number that no one's ever heard yet and win their games by that many points. And it's exactly what BYU and Utah did. I am blown away. Where was this version of the Cougars the rest of the year in all of the close games that they played? It took losses seemingly for Utah and BYU both. Losses to Texas Tech to look across the field and say, oh, shoot, that's what a national championship team looks like. If we're going to compete for the college football playoff, if we're going to make it that deep, if we're going to win, we have to look like that. And Kalani Sitake, he preaches love and respect and kindness. But, man, I want to love my brother next to me so much that I beat the absolute mess out of TCU to the point where they fall into submission and I make the college football playoff because I say, look, committee, in my last 2 or 3 games, here is what I did. Yes, I lost to a top 10 team on the road, but here is what I did at 11-1. I think BYU and Utah both showcased that tonight. And here is my question. Texas A&M beat a 3-6 team 31-30 at home, 3-6. BYU beat a 6-3 team, blew their doors off at home. 6-3 team. A&M played a 3-6 team, 1-point win versus 3-4 touchdown win. Utah plays a 5-4 Baylor team, wins on the road by 30. At what point will we start valuing wins? Alabama loses to a team that's going to miss a bowl game in Florida State and a top 10 team playing at home. Utah loses to 2 top 12 teams, both on the road. BYU loses 1 game to a top 6 team on the road. Rank the teams based on the games they play and not your hypothetical mind games. The cowards of the College Football Playoff Committee are looking at Alabama and saying they would beat Utah with zero basis, with zero idea. You can't recreate the game in the aggregate. It doesn't work that way. BYU just proved against Josh Hoover, who at one point was a Heisman caliber quarterback, a Heisman conversation quarterback, that the Cougars are for real, that they're legit. And look, I get it. BYU hates TCU. Utah. The BYU hates Utah in like a loving way. And I think BYU should hate TCU and should hate Baylor and should hate everybody left on their schedule. Hate in a loving way, Kalani. But you're kind of holding hands with Utah right now and saying, boys, we're going to have to do this the rest of the way together. Because in my opinion, and it's not even, it's objective, the best case scenario for the Big 12 is Texas Tech, BYU, and Utah all get in. Josh Hoover, at the time of recording, again, the fact that this is the first time this year I've been able to start a BYU reaction or a Utah reaction where it's like, oh yeah, well, the clock's still running, but game's over. Usually it's not the case for BYU. Josh Hoover, 10 for 23, 2 interceptions, no touchdowns. That's elite. TCU, 33 carries, 121 yards, 3.7 yards per carry. That's elite defense. I'm not saying what TCU is doing is elite, by the way. I should clarify. That sucks. And it's because BYU's defense showed up this week. Bear Bachmeier, 23 for 33. It's not great, but 296 yards, a touchdown efficiency-wise, it is. He was everything you needed him to be, and the run game was there. 152 yards, 4 yards per carry in the way BYU used it with 3 rushing touchdowns. Bear Bachmeier, another third down and 10-plus rushing touchdown. Incredible. Can't ask for much better than that. BYU 28 first downs to TCU's 15. The Frogs were 1 for 10 on third down. Cougars held them to 304 yards. A passing attack that is so potent, but had less than 200 yards through the air. And BYU, 2 penalties, 25 yards, just 1 turnover. 35 and a half minutes of time of possession. This is the definition of flipping the script. BYU lost a game to Texas Tech and said, oh, that's what it's supposed to look like. The Utah Utes against the Baylor Bears, they went out there, immediate domination. Immediately, it's 14-0. From there, things are a little bit hairier at halftime, 28-17. Baylor scores quick, and I'm wondering what is going on with the back end of the defense for Utah. Their secondary just doesn't look right. Then 55-28 is the final score. The Utah Utes putting on a clinic against the Baylor Bears. This is a Utah team that, coming up with Kansas State and Kansas on their schedule remaining, is going to finish at 10-2, and I think can continue to climb in the college football playoff rankings, namely if they have teams ahead of them. Now, look, it's no surprise. As mentioned, the Oklahoma win against Alabama is not good for the Big 12. But the Texas loss, namely the way they lost it, is great for this conference. Utah only needed 20 first downs. Only needed 103 yards passing because the rushing game had 380. That's the epitome of just what I'm asking for. You see, if there are an infinite amount of numbers, there is a number named Utah. Well, that's stupid. There's not a number named Utah. There'll never be a number named Utah. There's also a number named Cougars. That's stupid. There's not. If it's infinite, if it's infinite, whatever word you want to throw out, there is some number out there that is labeled with that very word. Because that's what infinite means. We have infinite numbers. We have infinite words. No, actually, do we have it? I don't think we have infinite words. Those are finite. Therefore, it just helps my point. At some level, we run out of words for the amount of numbers there are. And that's what I wanted. I wanted Utah to create the number Utah and beat Baylor by that many. And they effectively did that. I wanted BYU to create the number Cougars and win by that money. And you say, look, Baylor had 563 yards, 430 of them passing. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. But it was Utah's ability to turn the Bears over, force them into stupid penalties, to ensure that on third down, Utah was lights out defensively. On fourth down, Utah was lights out defensively. The Bears were 8 for 23 combined on third and fourth down. That's what it was, dog. That's what it was. That was the good. And I'm over the moon. I am over the moon with what these two programs did in their respective games. Now it's up to the committee. Again, I tell you, do not hide your cowardice. Be brave. Be bold, men and women. I think Condoleezza Rice is on there. I think she has. I don't know why. Like, there are certainly women who should be on the board. I agree with that. Beth Mowens would be a great member of the board. I don't know if Condoleezza Rice should be. More at 10. I'll do some digging on that one. Men, women, board members. Sans Mac Rhodes. And hello, Mark Harlan of Utah. Jeez. Please look at the games. Look at the wins. Value the wins. Value the record. That's my plea. Utah took care of business. BYU took care of business in a way that I have not seen the Cougars do yet. I can say decent Power 4 team this year. They broke TCU's will. If I may, honor code violation. Hell yeah. That's awesome. More all week. I got your back, boss. This has been and always will be Power Rankings tomorrow. Locked on. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. Dose Grande.